All right, now today, Africa marks the Day of the African Child in a continent where girls are exposed to harmful practices and human rights violations like female genital mutilation, child marriage, sexual violence, sex trafficking, and the overreaching injustice in the justice system. Every year on the 16th of June, activists hope raise awareness on the need for quality education for every child on the continent. Trix Ngado tells us more.
The Day of the African Child is commemorated every year on the 16th of June in memory of the June 1976 student uprising in Soweto, South Africa, during which students who marched in protest against the poor quality of education were massacred by the then apartheid regime. Every year, stakeholders gather to take stock of improvements since then and discuss challenges facing the African child's pursuit of education. This year, the day will be commemorated on the theme of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development for Children in Africa, accelerating protection, empowerment, and equal opportunity. The child-friendly version is accelerating protection, empowerment, and equal opportunities for children in Africa by 2030. While problems like apartheid are long-forgotten threats to education, modern Africa is still plagued by challenges that stand in the way of educating the African child. Owing to poverty and poor governance, the lack of facilities and educators is still a major problem. In warring countries, children are caught up in the fighting, with many being forced to either join in as child soldiers or flee for their lives. Systemic corruption, disease, and gender inequality are other hindrances. But countries such as Zimbabwe have grown in leaps and bounds. United Nations data shows the country has the highest, if not the best, ratio of school books per student. In the year 2000, the United Nations adopted the Millennium Development Goals, a set of targets for the year 2015. The second was to achieve universal primary education, more specifically to ensure that by 2015, children everywhere, boys and girls alike, will be able to complete a full course of primary schooling. That same year, the World Education Forum met in Dakar, Senegal, and adopted the Dakar Framework for Action, reaffirming the commitment to achieve education for all by the year 2015. At the time, according to UNESCO, only 57% of African children were enrolled in primary school, the lowest enrollment rate for any region surveyed. The report also showed marked gender inequalities. In almost all the countries, enrollment of boys far outpaced that of girls. Trix Ngado, KTN News, Nairobi.